Leader, third party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As BC addresses the health crisis caused by COVID-19, the most pressing issue becomes, like for the rest of the world, the economic crisis in rebuilding our economy. The $1.5 billion stimulus package the government is preparing to spend invests a substantial amount of capital into our economy to precipitate foundational changes. As we know, we can't afford to go back to business as usual because going back means being unprepared for what's ahead. The health crisis has highlighted the many areas in our society and economy that lack resilience. In many cases, our lack of local technological and manufacturing capabilities has forced us to rely on fragile global supply chains. The final report from BC's first Innovation Commissioner points to an opportunity to use CleanBC as an economic driver by incenting made-in-BC solutions to help us meet our climate targets. We can develop and strengthen our domestic supply chains while lowering GHG emissions. My question through you, Honourable Speaker, is to the Minister of Jobs, Economic Development and Competitiveness. Is her ministry developing a concrete proposal for how stimulus spending can enact this recommendation to use CleanBC as an economic driver in recovery that can also help us build greater resilience in local supply chains?
Minister of Jobs and Economic Development.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you the member for the question. And I know that he's very interested in this topic because we've actually been talking about it over the last few months. And in a short word, the answer to his question is yes. This is very important. I think COVID-19 has shown us all, and Dr. Winter is absolutely correct to point out that supply chains, global supply chains have been disrupted, and we have to do more to localize those supply chains, bring that production closer to home. And so some of the things that we already started doing during the height of the pandemic was create a supply hub. Now, this supply hub was helping get people who needed medical PPE, helping them get medical PPE, but other types of supplies. And the people that created that were right here in British Columbia. Traction on Demand, which is a British Columbia company headed by a young man who originated from Nelson. I have to put that in there, Honourable Speaker. This company put together the supply hub in partnership with our government. There were other BC companies who were also a part of this important project. West Lab in Surrey, Breathe Medical in Kelowna, Westbound Industries in Delta, Prototype Integrated Solutions in Langley were all contributing to this important initiative that allowed greater supply chains here locally in British Columbia. Going forward, we know how important innovation, as the Innovation Commissioner our former Innovation Commissioner pointed out, is going to be for future economy. And we've already appointed the member for Delta North. He's already the Parliamentary Secretary, giving him the added responsibility for expanding and growing our mass timber industry as an example. Another example, Innovate BC has also created 100 paid internships with MyTax for small and medium tech companies that are building solutions in the COVID era. And Honourable Speaker, this question of localizing our supply chains is an important question that the new Innovation Commissioner is going to be looking at, and I'm very much looking forward to announcing who that person will be in the near future.
Leader, third party on a supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. COVID-19 has daylighted our lack of stockpiling and local production of personal protective equipment. The Minister mentioned it, or PPE. PPE is critical to protecting frontline workers, and we saw the devastating health consequences when we lack supply. BC has a lot of natural resources, much of which we export raw. This is not sustainable and forgoes many local potential jobs. Now more than ever, we need immediate job-creating measures. Coupling our abundance of natural resources with the strength, value-added industry will mean a more resilient economy and well-paying jobs for the future. Our forests could provide essential bioproducts such as masks, which will help transition the forestry industry and bring jobs to many hard-hit communities. Researchers at UBC have created a biodegradable and compostable N95 mask made entirely of BC wood fibers and will apply for Health Canada certification, shovel-ready, shovel-worthy. My question through you, Honourable Speaker, is to the Minister of Forest, Lands, Natural Resource Operations and Rural Development. The Minister has spoken about shifting the industry to value-added instead of volume. We haven't yet seen many concrete changes. What steps is the Minister taking to capitalize on the opportunities in bioproducts like masks and making it a reality for our forest industry.
Minister, Forests, Lands, Natural Resources and Rural Development.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I welcome the question from the interim leader of the official or third party to discuss innovation in the forest sector. We definitely have a focus on adding value over volume on the use of the public resource, the forests of BC, and innovation is an important part of that. Unfortunately, the forest sector we inherited under the previous government had an over-concentration of tenure and a focus on traditional forest products, and those factors do not lead to stimulation of innovation. In Budget 2020, we allotted $13 million over the budget cycle to the new forest economy. That's to increase First Nations participation in the bioeconomy and to work on the supply side around fiber and access to fiber for innovators. And that gets to the point of the member's question. That access to fiber is absolutely essential for a company like Harmac Pacific, who I just spoke with the CEO and senior managers yesterday on the telephone. Harmac Pacific has doubled the supply of pulp that they provide to companies producing surgical gowns, for instance. And so that access to chips for that pulp is something that is important to innovators like Harmac Pacific, and we've taken measures to reduce waste in the forest and taken measures to drive logs to domestic production so that chips are available for the innovators and for the production of value-added products like surgical gowns and the pulp that goes into that. We've also worked with FP Innovations, and I believe the member's question when it referenced the biodegradable N95 mask that you
Thank you, Minister.
Something that's been through FP Innovation. So overall, this is important for workers and for communities, and thank you very much, Honourable Speaker.